Because I was once involved in a variety of interplanetary invasion, people often ask me what I think about flying saucers. Well, truthfully, I don't have any opinion at all. I was rather impressed in reading the other day that a football match in Italy was stopped dead by one of these apparitions. The two teams ceased play and stood staring up into the sky. I think anything that can stop a football match in Italy must be a little bit stronger than an optical illusion. So I say I was rather closely involved with what purported to be an invasion from Mars. I don't know what is in those saucers, whether they're Martians or not, but we once sent some of them to America via the radio in something called the War of the Worlds. I thought you might be interested in hearing something about it. The Martians themselves look something like that. The War of the Worlds was a broadcast we did based on H.G. Wells' story of the invasion of the world by the Martians. A broadcast we did on a regular series of ours of dramatizations of famous books, some of them classics and some of them the more popular sort. We did the War of the Worlds more or less as a change of pace, and I think because we were criticized a good bit by our sound effects people for dabbling in science fiction, we made a special effort to make our show as realistic as possible. That is, we reproduced all the radio effects, not only sound effects, but, well, we did on the show exactly what would have happened if the world had been invaded. That little music playing and then an announcer coming on and saying, "Excuse me, we interrupt this program to bring you an announcement from Jersey City. Jersey City has just fallen. Take you back to our studio," a little organ music, and then another interruption, and so on. We did all of that very carefully and exactly reproduced, as I say, what would have happened, thinking to make the whole thing more effective. But we had no idea how effective it would be, because about halfway through the show, as we were continuing with the script in front of us, we saw that in the control room there were a great many policemen, and every moment more. Now, later we found out that the police were as confused as we were, because there wasn't anything they could arrest us for, but there they were, looking fierce, and a lot of people talking to other people in dumb show, and a very tense atmosphere was generated in the studio. We thought, well, something's gone wrong. Some few people have complained and have swallowed what we're telling them about the Martians having come to the world. But we didn't know that it wasn't a few people. It was, in fact, nationwide. I had no idea that I'd suddenly become a sort of national event. And it was immediately after our show went off the air that Walter Winchell, who was on a rival network and had heard about how all the telephone lines had been jammed and all the excitement was going on, went on the air on his network, on his program of news commentary, and said, "Mr. and Mrs. America, there is no cause for alarm. America has not fallen. I repeat, America has not fallen." Of course, that was really enough for that network, and by that time there wasn't a phone you could get to really anywhere in the States. The highways were jammed with cars going one way or another. Those people who were in the cities were going to the hills, and those people who were in the hills were coming into the cities. And if you think this is an exaggeration, it's only a little while ago that I again ran into some workers, some welfare workers, Quakers and Red Cross people who had been up in the Black Hills of Dakota some 5 or 6 weeks after this broadcast, persuading the people to leave the mountains and go back home because the Martians really hadn't come. Now, since this event, during the years that have gone by since then, I've heard a number of stories about the things that happened. Some of them may seem hard to believe, but they're all verified. You'll find them in a very scholarly book which Princeton University got out on the subject of mass hysteria. And one of the stories that I like best has to do with the Navy. It's wrong to say that I like it best, because honestly it does prey on my conscience. The United States Navy, or a great part of it, was in New York Harbor at this time. And the boys, the sailors, were all on shore leave. And they were all recalled that night for active duty. I've often felt very sorry for them, having to give up their nice holidays in order to defend America against the Martians. And I've often wondered what it was that the United States Navy ever found to tell the sailors the next morning. And there was a dinner party. Very select and elegant and exclusive dinner party. And this is a really true story. I must ask you to believe that. In Long Island, the night of this broadcast, which was Halloween Eve, a lot of grand people sitting at dinner. And about halfway through dinner, the butler arrived, serving the next course, and said to the host in an undertone, which carried around the table, "I beg pardon, sir, but New Jersey has just fallen." Passed the next plate. Everyone was very contained and very polite. Nobody panicked. They waited till the next course, and the butler came around again, and the host said, Meadows, or whatever his name was. "What was that, Meadows, you said about... Where'd you hear that?" Meadows said, "On the radio, sir." The host said, "Well, exactly what happened?" Meadows said, "Well, I believe, sir, that the greater part of the Atlantic seaboard has capitulated." Passed another plate. Of course, everybody assumed it must be the communists or something. Third round of whatever it was, by the time the baked Alaska came, host said, "Meadows, have you ascertained who it is that's attacking us?" Meadows says, "I believe it's interplanetary, sir." And at this point, according to my informant, who is highly placed and should be believed, at this point they looked out the window and there was a falling star. I can't vouch for that part of the story, but anyway, that's what's told. Anyway, all kinds of people reacted in all kinds of ways. For example, John Barrymore, the very famous American actor, this I know to be true, was listening to the broadcast, and although he was a friend of mine, ceased to identify me with the show and believed implicitly that America had fallen to the Martians, and hearing this on his radio, rushed out into his backyard where he kept 10 Great Danes in a kennels and released the dogs, giving them their freedom, crying to them as they ran in all directions of the compass, "The world has fallen, fend for yourselves."